The third edition of India-Central Asia Dialogue is underway in New Delhi. On the second day of the dialogue, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar hosted the crucial meeting between foreign ministers of Kazakhstan, the Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. During the opening statement of today's crucial meeting, Jaishankar assured India's readiness to take diplomatic relations to the next level.
Despite the impact of the pandemic, our countries have sustained the momentum of our relations. I've had the privilege of meeting each one of you in 2021 earlier, 4 of you in your own capitals. We are very pleased at the state of our bilateral relations, but we know that the potential is very much more. Each one of us today faces the test of rebuilding our economy. Our pursuit of SDGs must also be energized. But together we can do this better, and India, I assure you, will be your steadfast partner. We already have a good history of cooperation, but my message to you today is a readiness to take it to the next level. Our ties must now focus around 4 C's: commerce, capacity enhancement, connectivity and contacts.
According to the joint statement, COVID cooperation, Afghanistan crisis and support for UNSC initiatives of India are the top focus of the talks. India also called on the Central Asian countries to utilize the services of Chabahar port in Iran for facilitating their trade with India and beyond. The meeting was part of a third edition of the 3-day India-Central Asia Dialogues. The dialogue is taking place in the backdrop of India reaching out to the 5 countries for participation of their top leaders as chief guests at the upcoming Republic Day celebrations. Early on Saturday, Jaishankar held diplomatic talks with Tajikistan's foreign minister on the sidelines of the main event. During the talks, the 2 leaders discussed issues of bilateral relations. The Indian Foreign Minister also appreciated Tajikistan's participation in the regional security dialogue held in November earlier this year. The 2 sides have also signed agreements on diplomatic training and program of cooperation. India considers Central Asia as part of its extended neighborhood. The dialogue is the second meeting organized by India after the 2020 virtual talks. Well, for more updates on this story, our principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal is joining us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us. S. Jaishankar told members of the India-Central Dialogue that all their concerns and goals for Afghanistan are similar. Siddhant, to start us off, what are the other key takeaways from the second session?
Well, the meeting that took place today was perhaps the last major diplomatic event taking place in Delhi this year, but it was a big event in terms of the 5 foreign ministers of Central Asia present here in Delhi, having conversations with the Indian External Affairs Minister. And as you pointed out, Afghanistan was a key topic of discussion, but also the COVID crisis, connectivity. When it comes to the COVID crisis, India had sent vaccines to many of these Central Asian countries. And many of these Central Asian countries had reached out to New Delhi when India was dealing with the second wave of the deadly COVID crisis. Other than that, it was connectivity, as the Indian External Affairs Minister gave the 4 C's. That was one of the dominating factors. In fact, the joint statement interestingly points out to connectivity being transparent. It should be something that should respect territorial integrity of a country. That basically is a message to Beijing from the Central Asian countries and India. For example, CPEC, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, passes through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And this is something that has been the cause of concern for New Delhi. New Delhi has raised with Beijing. And when it comes to the Chinese connectivity projects or infrastructure projects in Central Asia, they have been causing debt crisis in that part of the world. So clearly a message when it comes to the meeting that happened earlier today. And tomorrow, of course, we know that the Central Asian countries will be making a joint call to the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Siddhant, apart from Afghanistan, India is also expected to gain from this particular Foreign Ministers Forum. Maybe you can outline the specific areas where India will benefit from this meeting.
Well, one of the focus area was increased engagement, people-to-people interaction between India and Central Asian countries. We know that when it comes to the connectivity, Chabar port was pitched by New Delhi. Many of these Central Asian countries, like for example, Uzbekistan is a doubly landlocked country, perhaps the only country in Asia which is doubly landlocked and is keen to have more options when it comes to connectivity. And India, of course, is pitching for the Chabar port. Recently, there was a meeting of Iran, Uzbekistan and India on jointly using the Chabar port. In fact, during today's meeting, Turkmenistan talked about the TAPI project, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan and India pipeline. So there were a number of focus areas on connectivity, but above all, it was a key point on next level of engagement. That will be the Central Asia India summit level meeting that will take place next month when the 5 Central Asian leaders will be here in Delhi, invited by India for the annual big event, the Republic Day event, in which the Central Asian countries, the 5 Central Asian countries for the first time will be together in New Delhi for the summit and of course for as a guest at the Republic Day.
Finally, Siddhant, there are 2 separate forums in India and 1 in Pakistan, all in favor of Afghanistan. All of them are trying to end the crisis in Afghanistan. What is the significance of rallying Muslim nations and now Central Asian countries to help Afghans?
Well, we saw a repetition of sorts today when it comes to New Delhi and Islamabad. New Delhi hosting the Central Asian India dialogue, Pakistan hosting the Organization of Islamic Cooperation or OIC foreign ministers meeting on Afghanistan. Interestingly, we saw recently India hosting the NSA's meeting on Afghanistan, in which the 5 Central Asian countries, Russia and Iran were present. And of course, we saw Islamabad just around that time inviting the Taliban foreign minister for any meeting. So it seems that Pakistan is trying to compete with New Delhi when it comes to some sort of summit level meetings. And today was no different. But nonetheless, the 5 Central Asian countries opted to come to New Delhi rather than staying in Islamabad when it comes to the important engagement. Both countries are engaging on Afghanistan. India has been saying that Pakistan is part of the problem. Pakistan has been telling the world that it is part of the solution. Only history will tell what is the exact future when it comes to Afghanistan. But Pakistan has been seen as a destabilizing force in Afghanistan, particularly in reference to providing support to Taliban and other terror groups who have essentially destabilized Afghanistan.
Live from New Delhi, thank you very much, Siddhant Sibal, for your insights and for talking to us today. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.